Tonight the talk is called Boundless Love and Deep Wisdom Dwelling with Amitabha and Akshobhya. So where we are in the current theme is we're in a theme called Encounters with Enlightenment. So the Buddha we've been hearing, the Buddha broke through into a radically different state of being, transcending ordinary human consciousness, discovered mind awakened. So we're looking at how can we encounter that? How can we encounter that in our actual lives, in our own lives? So we're looking at how can we encounter the Buddha, how can we encounter the enlightened mind? And in the first part of the theme, we've heard stories. We've heard stories from the Buddha's life of people, actual people, historic people who've encountered the Buddha and who connected with the Buddha. So we've been connecting with the Buddha ourselves that way by hearing the stories through our imagination, so using our imagination to connect with the Buddha through hearing these stories. And then we moved on to hear about people who met the Buddha, but they weren't able to remain with the Buddha, so they couldn't be with him, and they had to be separated from him, like Kingia. And that's like us too, isn't it? So we're separated from the Buddha, not only through space, but we're separated from the Buddha by a long time as well. So the Buddha taught a meditation practice, Buddhanasati, mindfulness of the Buddha, and Bodhinaga led us through that practice so that we can approach the Buddha directly through meditation and through awareness with our own minds. So that was kind of the bridge, and then we're in the last part of this current theme, and we're going to be looking at can we encounter enlightenment through images and symbols. So last week, Amitabha started this section of the theme introducing this symbol of the 5 Buddha mandala, which is a really rich symbol. And last week we heard about the central image, the central figure, Vairocana, and the female equivalent, and the white Buddhas in the centre. So that's where we are. We've just encountered the 5 Buddha mandalas starting last week. Okay, so we're looking at Buddha images, we're looking at archetypal figures, poetic truth, Nagabhadri was talking about last week. So poetic truth. So I'll say a little bit more about images and symbols to begin with. So this is the 5 Buddha mandala, and we can leave that up there while I just talk a little bit around images. So we say a picture is worth 1,000 words. It's quite a well-known phrase. So an image, a picture, can portray things more fully than we can describe in words sometimes. And also, an image can be a symbol. And a symbol is something that points to something beyond itself. So a symbol points to something deeper or higher than its literal form. So that's what a symbol is. It's pointing to something more than its literal form. So a symbol can speak to us in a way that's beyond words, it's beyond concepts, it's more than words and concepts. And so because of that, images and symbols can embody qualities, they can embody higher spiritual qualities. And so by contemplating images, contemplating symbols, what we dwell on, we become, we can be transformed by this practice. So we can develop those qualities ourselves, and we can move ourselves, our consciousness, our whole being, we can move towards the awakened state by doing this as a practice. Okay, so I'm just going to indulge myself and tell you a little story about myself first, before I talk about the Buddha. Okay, so just to kind of try and have a bit of an example of how symbols can speak a different kind of language. Okay, so I was driving home a couple of weeks ago from the centre, and it was quite a calm, dark, moonlit night, and I lived down a long farm track, very remote, wild and remote. And I was opening the farm gate, and I was reflecting on the Dharma. When we're building up to giving these talks, quite often I'll be reflecting on the Dharma, reflecting on the things that we're going to be talking about in the theme. So I was reflecting on the Dharma, and I was reflecting, well, how did the Buddha even try and communicate his realization to us, because we see things in such a limited, separate off kind of a way. We're very blinkered. So the way I see it is there's me here, I'm central, I'm separate, I'm sort of plonked into this external world, and everything else and everyone else is sort of out there, and there's this separation. And all of this world, all of this stuff, we assume we've got the measure of it. We assume that what we see is the actual extent of it, that that's the fullest. We might be open to like a bit of tweaking, like I'll get a bit kinder, I'll get a bit happier, but still within this basic framework of my personal separate perspective and the delusion of this fixed separate self. That's how we see things. And the Buddha had transcended that completely outside that framework. So how could he even start? Like, how could he even begin to communicate with us? And I just was thinking, it's remarkable. How did he even make a start? So stick with me, I'm going off on one a bit, but I'll get to a point. So that's me at my gate, thinking all that. How did the Buddha even try and properly communicate with me, with my blinkered mind? Then I'm driving down the track, and a hare came out of the grass onto the track. And instead of dashing about and running away, this hare just calmly meandered down the track in front of my car, slowly, and I was mesmerised. And I was just chugging along slowly behind the hare. And then an owl, I'm not even joking, this was just 2 weeks ago, an owl popped over a wall, landed on the track, dead in front of the hare. The hare had to stop so that it didn't bump into the owl. And for a very long moment, we all just stopped. Me, the hare, the owl, we were just like this. So the owl's a symbol of wisdom, the hare's a symbol of the Bodhisattva's compassion. It was absolutely astounding. So there am I, aren't I, going, how can the Buddha communicate with me? And then this happens. Okay, so, fine, but to be clear, I'm not being literal, so I'm not going, the Buddha lives on a farm track in Riverside. And I'm also not talking about like magical coincidences and, you know, that sort of thing. And I'm not saying the Buddha controls the animals and sends me messages, sends me these signs. I'm really rational. As a person, I was a physicist, I'm a scientist. My practice has got to make sense within scientific truth. It has to, it can't not. But I can reflect on the Buddha's central teaching of Praticca Samuppada, which is conditionality. Everything is conditioned, everything is co-produced. Everything is co-arising. All things arise in accordance with conditions, and all things co-arise. It's really profound teaching that I don't understand. But it does say that nothing whatsoever is independently existent or separate. There's no so-called external world out there. There's no so-called internal mind in here, in separation. So we don't see it that way, but there's no separation between me and everything else, the material stuff out there and my mind in here. There's no real separation between the phenomenal world and spiritual meaning and spiritual beauty. So these kind of things just lead me to reflect, well, can I be receptive? Can I be receptive to the fact that the material world carries beauty and aliveness and meaning. It carries connection and it carries love as part of it. And it's speaking all the time, if I can listen to it, if I can listen properly. So we've all had our little owl and hare moments, and everybody will have moments like that when something kind of breaks through this fixed viewpoint, and we just for a moment see things differently. We see more differently. Okay, so symbols can just speak a different language. And this evening, I'm going to be offering 2 traditional symbols from the 5 Buddha mandalas. So this is the 5 Buddha mandala. We've got Varochana in the middle. We've got Akshobhya, Ratnasambhava, Amitabha, and Amoghasiddhi. And these are a slightly different way around, so I would normally have east and west, but it doesn't matter because they're just in a mandala. So thinking like, how can we relate to these images? We can think, are they out there? Or are they in here in my imagination, in my mind? And like I was just saying, Buddhism says there's no difference. In reality, there is no separation, there is no difference. So we might experience images as being out there and influencing me in my mind, or we might experience images as being in here, in my imagination, my creation. Both are fine and neither is fully true. So whichever way we'll experience differently because of the separating mind. Okay. So this is the 5 Buddha mandala. They all radiate from the Buddha, the archetypal Buddha. They all radiate from the Buddha Shakyamuni. So they're all different aspects, different facets of the Buddha. Because the Buddha taught differently to different people, whoever he met, like in the stories, he gave them a different teaching. Each person needs a different way in. So different images speak to different people in different ways, depending on our heart and our mind and our temperament as well. So you might find that some images really resonate with you. You might find none of these do, and you have something of your own, and that's really fine as well. We need to go with our own, where our own connection feels like it is, and be a bit experimental. So we need to each find our own particular way of connecting with reality, with the Buddha's awakened mind. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show 2 images in more detail. I'm going to show Akshobhya first and then Amitabha, and I'm going to show paintings that are by an order member called Aloka. And just to say that each of these Buddha figures has a female counterpart as well, so I will name the female counterpart of each Buddha as we go through them. So I'll put the image up and we'll hear the mantra. First of all, we'll hear the mantra. We'll hear the mantra that is associated with the Buddha that we're looking at. And Sangha is going to, yeah, 3 times, yeah, please. And then what I'll do is I'll just give descriptions of the symbols, of the imagery, of the colour, and the qualities, actually, the qualities that they embody. So I'll just do that quite slowly. So I'll leave the images up for a good few minutes. And what you can do is just relax. So you can just relax, just enjoy the images. I'll just talk a little bit about them, and we'll just take some time over each image. So you can look at the image, or you can look at the image and then close your eyes and just imagine. You can visualize internally. You could imagine or feel, if you want to, the qualities of the figures coming to you. You could let the qualities be gifted to you by the figures, by the images, or you can feel or imagine the qualities growing within yourself by you creating the qualities, whichever way you want to do that, or just gaze on the image and see what happens. So just saying, do this your own way, really. Okay, so first of all, Akshobhya. So this is Akshobhya in the east of the mandala, and the female Buddha is Lochana.
Om Akshobhya Om. Om Akshobhya Om. Om Akshobhya Om.
So Akshobhya means immovable, unshakable, and imperturbable. So Akshobhya is absolute confidence. And his colour is deep blue, like the midnight sky. So Akshobhya's vision is vast, vast and open as the sky. And Akshobhya's colour deep blue, deep like the ocean. So he's a symbol of wisdom, he's a symbol of absolute wisdom, clear seeing and clear knowing, what we call mirror-like wisdom, mirror-like wisdom. So mirror-like wisdom, he sees things actually just as they are. He sees things as they are. So he's impartial. He sees with a freedom, so free from the mind's distortion, free from any bias. Mirror-like wisdom. And the Buddha lived that wisdom, he lived this wisdom and he shared it. So, like with Bahia, in the story of Bahia, in the seen, only the seen Bahia. In the seen, only the seen. Mirror-like wisdom. No bias. His element is water. Pure, clear, deep water. And his time of the day is dawn. So the clarity and openness of new beginnings. And Akshobhya transforms poison. He transforms the poisons of anger and hatred into this mirror-like wisdom. So he transforms anger and hatred, ill will. And he holds a Vajra. He holds the diamond thunderbolt, the Vajra, which is indestructible and irresistible. The Vajra is the nature of reality and it's irresistible. And he's associated with the elephant, strong, patient, and steadfast. And his mudra, his hand gesture, is the earth-touching mudra. His hand touches the earth, a symbol of unshakable resolve and confidence and witnessing. So we've met Akshobhya, now we're going to meet Amitabha, Red Buddha, and the female counterpart, Kandara Varsane, in the west of the mantra, Amitabha. So we'll hear Amitabha's mantra 3 times.
Om Amitabha breathe. Om Amitabha breathe. Om Amitabha breathe.
Amitabha is infinite light and boundless love. Infinite and boundless. His colour is deep red, so the red of love, of warmth, emotion. The deep red of passion, vitality, life and connection. So he is boundless compassion, boundless compassion. And again, the Buddha lived this compassion and shared it. So like in the story we heard of Kisa Gotami, yes, Kisa Gotami, I can help you home Kisa Gotami. That's what the Buddha said to Kisa Gotami. Boundless compassion. And a kind of fearless compassion in the face of deep grief and suffering. And Amitabha's element is fire. So fire that consumes and transforms. His time of day is sunset, for the beauty and the stillness of the setting sun. And Amitabha is associated with the peacock, beautiful, vibrant, radiant peacock. It's said that the peacock can eat poison and transform it. So the peacock transforms poison of craving and desire. Amitabha transforms the poison of craving and desire into discriminating wisdom. So discriminating wisdom, Amitabha sees and loves the uniqueness of everything, the uniqueness of every being without grasping. Amitabha's mudra is the Dhyana mudra, the mudra of deep meditation, inner stillness, limitless compassion. So we met two of the Buddhas in the five Buddha Mandala. And so we can just think about how can we practice with these figures? How do we bring these figures alive in our practice, in our daily practice? So we can, you've got images, small images on your seats as you come in, so you can take those two images home with you. So you can take Akshobhya and Amitabha and you can take them home with you. So we can cultivate them. We can cultivate them in our own mind, and we can let them transform us. So we can try and let them transform our consciousness. So what I'm going to suggest is that we can do some kind of a wooing and dating of these figures. Okay, a mantra, so beautiful. A mantra is described as a love song to the transcendental. Okay, so we're going to go transcendental dating. That's what I'm going to say we can do this week. So just see which figure takes your fancy, or see which figure fancies you. And the great thing is, you don't have to be faithful because they're all Buddha. So it's fine, and the Buddha doesn't mind. Okay, so we can just play around with it, can't we? We can just notice, does anything particularly speak to you in these figures? Is that a colour? Is it a sound, an animal, a mudra? Maybe like the mudras can be really powerful. So I would suggest actually physically try them out. So I did this at St. Peter's suggestion quite a few years ago. The earth touching mudra of Akshobhya. I was feeling really unconfident in my life. As a parent, I was feeling very unconfident as a parent. And I was feeling not really good enough, like I'm not doing a good enough job of it. I wasn't really okay with what I was doing, and I was kind of overwhelmed. And Sangha Gita suggested, well, 5 times a day, physically go outside, crouch down on the floor and touch the earth. Like literally, physically do it. And I did it. I did it 5 times a day. I sat in my normal phone and I literally dug my hand down into the soil. And I tried to imagine that I was being witnessed in what I was doing and that I was cultivating confidence by doing this. I did it for a few weeks and it was really powerful. It definitely changed a lot of that stuff and I don't feel that stuff so much anymore. So the mudras can do something in quite magical ways, so it's worth physically trying it out. We can meditate on these figures. So you've got the images, you can put the images on your shrine or somewhere that you can see them, maybe in the fridge. So we can contemplate them before meditation to bring about qualities before we meditate. We can chant our mantras before meditation or bring them to mind during meditation or a quality of theirs or just a colour or recite the mantra, something in meditation. We can find and memorize practice relating to them and their qualities. If we've got like a text in our memory, just a short line, then that inspiration is there at our fingertips whenever we need it. You know, if we've got a difficult situation or we need some inspiration or need some confidence, we can just, it's there, it's available in times of need, and it's also available in meditation without this kind of organising need thing. So it can be there. Another really powerful thing to do is to act as if you already embody their qualities. So you can then act from those qualities in an everyday situation. So just imagining, I am as confident as Akshobhya. I feel utterly confident and act from that place. And if we do that, then the qualities, we embody the qualities, and the qualities will grow, and we will grow by doing it. And also, if you find that you really love one of these figures, treat it as your precious beloved. Never let them leave your mind. So you can carry reminders of your beloved, like an image in your pocket or in your bag, your wallet. Wear their colour. Gold is my own. Wear a piece of jewellery that reminds you, or a screensaver on your phone, and just fall in love with them. So you can fall in love with the transcendental, fall in love with the transcendental. So that's the talk. Thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy your transcendental dating.